Hey guys, my name is Aaron from Geeky Development and welcome to our Xcode tutorials. In this tutorial, we're going to be creating our very own image gallery application from using collection views within the Swift language. Now before we jump straight into this, if you enjoy this tutorial and want to further your knowledge and learning ability, why not enroll in one of the many courses we have available on iOS development. All links for these will be down below in the description. But let's jump straight in to the tutorial. In our previous lecture, we set up our detail view controller now with all the objects, adding the constraints to make it universal, ready for this lecture as we're going to populate it with the remaining information of our selected cell, which is pretty much the rest of the information for our big cats. So what we do in this lecture then is we're going to first focus on setting up the ability to prepare for segue via code. This will basically enable us to have the ability to trigger an action just before we switch to the detail view. So where we now have this kind of ability to select a cell, push us to the detail view, in that moment, that's when we want to trigger an action to bring the data from the P list and the remaining, or just say all four entries within it, place it in what we created the four variables of our sent data before we populate that into our four objects. So this all takes place then within our collection view controller.swift. And we do have a function in here somewhere, just here, to prepare for segue. So if I uncomment it here, get rid of the commented code inside of it, this here allows us to, again, like I said before, trigger an action as we're pushing to a new view. And in the last lecture, we created an identity on our segue. So if we go to the main.storyboard, select the identity or the segue here, bring up our little side panel, we had an identity of show detail. We're going to quickly copy that. So we've got it just for the moment. Jump back in and get rid of our side panel there as we're going to create now an if statement. So what we do now then is because we've got an identity on our segue, we first need to single out the segue because we're able to have the ability to have multiple segues from one view. So how we know we push into that individual view is off the segue. So we do if our segue.identifier is simply equal to the value we place inside of our two quotation marks, which is show detail. If it equals that, then we can perform what we place within these brackets. And what we're going to do is we're going to allocate our detail view. Once we've allocated it of where the information is going to, we're then going to call upon and create an index path to take all the information inside of our P list of the four entries before we populate them in the four sent data variables. So we create our let now, and this is going to be for our detail view, which we'll simply call it detail. And this is going to go on to equal our segue.destination. Then we do space as, and then the name of the class that controls it, which is our detail view controller. Then we're going to create another if statement. And this is for if the user selects one of the cells to get the information within our collection view. So we do if, and we create a let and call it our index path. If it equals our self.collection view, which is just there, our question mark, dot index path for. And in the highlighted section here, it's going to be as our sender because we're pushing it and clicking it. As exclamation mark, there we go, our UI collection view cell. And that there with a bracket. So after the bracket there, we need to do our parentheses because it is an if statement. So we need to trigger an action upon it. So if it equals that, which our index path will, because that's where the information is coming from within our collection view cell, within our collection view, as our user clicks it with the sender, then we're going to populate the four entries within our P list into the four sent data variables. But we first need to get these items in the selected row. So we create the let, and I'll simply call it item, and it's going to equal our self dot items, the name of the string we created that populates our whole application. And you see it's up here, which loads our P list. It's going to equal that bracket our index path dot row. So by now referencing item just here, it will allow us then to populate again the four sent datas. So we remove the one warning because we're now referencing index path, but we're not referencing detail just yet. So now if I reference detail and do dot, we can then call upon all of the labels and image views and text views and strings of our variables in our detail view. Now the reason we don't call upon our label to equal the entry is because it will perform a crash. It doesn't really like it. We have to first store it in the variables to then populate it within the view. So we start then with our sent data 1, and we equal this to our item with our 2 brackets, 2 quotation marks. So our sent data 1 is basically going to equal the title of our first entry within our plist. So let's go to our big cat send.plist. You can see the first entry is called name with a capital N. So in our collection view here, the sent data is going to equal the name of that selected row. Repeat the process. We do sent data 2 of our item with our 2 brackets there, and that's going to simply equal, in our big cat's plist, our image with a capital I. So place it in there then. So this is how we single out the individual rows. So the sent data will equal that specific row in the selected data. So again, we've got to repeat it 2 more times then. So this time it's sent data 3 to equal our item, 2 brackets here. And our next one then happens to be our lifespan, which does have a space. So it's capital L, capital S. It is case sensitive, remember that. So lifespan. There we go. And then finally our last one, dot sent data 4 equals our item. And this one happens to be, I believe it is our description. Let me just double check. I think that's what we called it, right? Yep, our description. Perfect. So the sent data 1 to 4 within our detail view controller now, it will, once we perform the segue, will now equal all the information that's stored within these entries within our plist of our selected view. Now, it won't really do anything when we push over, but I just want to make sure that there's no errors, no crashes, no bugs when we do switch to the view. If we push over, fine, no issues, which we do right now, we know that it's worked. There's nothing stopping us holding that information. It's got it perfectly fine. So now the sent datas hold all that information. It's now down to us within our detail view controller to tell those sent datas what to do with the information. And we can set it up within the view did load. So we can say within the view did load that once it loads up, we can call upon, for example, our detail image view dot image to go on to equal a UI image bracket named, and what it's going to go on to equal is of course our sent data 1. So whatever we replace inside of our sent data 1 is what our image view is going to equal. So if you go to build and run now, then we should only have the image view set up, of course, and that should now start changing depending on what our user selects from our cell. So by default anyway, we had the cheetah image in, so that won't really change for the most part. But if I now select, for example, the jaguar that it now displays within that detail image. So the images are now updating, they're now changing, and the image and the information is now coming over. But we've always had that image in within our application. The real fun's going to start when we populate, for example, the title label, the lifespan and description, because we don't have the information in yet. We haven't seen it. It's always been within our plist. So for the first time then, let's get that information inside. So just like how we kind of added that information in, this time we call upon our detail title dot text just to go on to simply equal our sent data 2. It's pretty much as simple as that. That's the only way I could say, because it's already formatted into a string, so we don't need to reformat it. We just reference the variable. So now then, the title of each big cat will now update to what it actually is, what we actually set it to within our plist. So the cheetah now says cheetah, the lion says lion, the jaguar says jaguar, leopard says leopard, and the tiger says tiger. How cool is that? That is so cool. I can't believe that. It's so cool. So now we've got that added in. Let's do the rest of them. Let's not wait around any longer. So let's do the detail life dot text to equal our sent data 3 and our detail description to equal our sent data 4. So it's now all populating with the entries within our plist. So we cannot, I missed out the dot text there on the description. There we go, dot text. So we can add as much more information as we want to within our plist. So every time you add in a new entry inside of the plist that you want to populate a new object, just remember that you need to update your segue to add the new one in. It's going to equal a new variable and then a new object to get it all hooked up. you pretty much run through the process one more time. So now as we build and run then, all 4 objects should now be populated with the various information within our plist that we set up. So our cheetah, it's got the lifespan there. Small little description. Again, I didn't really run through the description, so I'm not really sure what they say. We've also got the the jaguar, sorry. We've got the leopard, which the leopard and cheetah, I didn't realize how very similar they looked, which is quite cool. We've got the lion added in, and we've got the tiger as well, which the tiger's got the longest lifespan, 20 to 26 years. That's crazy. That's crazy considering the other ones here have 12 to 17, 12 to 15, 10 to 12. That's the lowest one, 10 to 14, which is pretty interesting. I've learned something new myself as well, that tigers live quite long. So each one of these now updates, and it's pretty cool, isn't it? So the last thing I'll probably look at doing now then is adding the name of the actual animal to the navigation bar at the top, like how we have big cats up there. And we can do that again within the view did load. So before it all takes place, we call upon self.navigationItem.title to simply equal our sent data 1. So just like how the title equals it. No, it's not sent data 1, sorry, it's sent data 2. Is it sent data 2? I feel like I've got these the wrong way around. Oh no, the first one, sent data 1 is the name. That's actually quite funny because they're both named the same and the images are named the same. It kind of works, doesn't it? So the actual image happens to be sent data 2, believe it or not, and the title is sent data 1. That's quite funny because they're both the same name inside of it. The title and the actual images have the same name. I kind of didn't spot that, which was quite smart. But that's quite funny. So now then the actual navigation item will have the title of said animal, said big cat, in its navigation bar. So bring it over. It says cheetah. It says jaguar. It says lion. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I'm very, very impressed with it. Very, very impressed. So there we go. We've now populated our collection view solely using info.plists. Well, not really info.plist, property list, should I say. We've created our very own property list. We've populated it with a bunch of information. Each entry has 4 different pieces of information inside of it. And we've used that to create this fully featured Big Cats application. You can take this a step further. You've got this beautiful image gallery with all these different animals. Select it, learn more about the animal. You could take this a step further, which is pretty much a challenge that I want to give you. Pick a different topic, pick a different category, whatever it may be, like cars, cities, landmarks, aeroplanes, I don't know, dogs, cats, whatever it may be, and add and create a fully featured application. Add in a bunch more entries for the individual animals or whatever it may be. And then for the detailed statistics, so to speak, go crazy with it and see how much you can create. You can create a very useful, fully featured utility information application upon that certain category. It's a really good application you could create. But for the most part, feel proud of yourself. You just created this fully featured image gallery with detailed statistics and information on that selected, thing, all from plists. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So pat yourself on the back. You've created your very own Big Cats application.